we are with these three Bugera amplifier, the 333XL, the 6262 and the 1960. In the track, in the beginning, I used the 333XL for the clean sound, the 6262 for the rhythm guitar tone, and the 1960 for the guitar solo. I could do different matches and combinations, but I wanted to choose one head for one sound, and that was my choice. But let's start to talk a little bit more in depth about these amplifiers, and let's start with the 1960. As you can see by the look and also by this British Byte logo, you can instantly tell that this amplifier is really inspired by the famous Marshall Plexi style of amplifiers. You can also see the 4-input layout here. We have a straightforward tone controls like treble, middle and bass. We have a presence here, and then the standard volume 1 and volume 2 that you probably are already familiar with if you know a little bit of Marshall Plexi style amplifiers. The 4-input system is a little bit different than a standard Marshall kind of amp. We have this input that actually works like if you have jumped the two inputs of a Marshall amp, so you can blend the volume 1 and volume 2 to your own taste. Then if you use the other control, the top right one, you just have the control over the volume 2 and the volume 1 is bypassed, okay? On the bottom, we have the cascaded version of these two channels working together. So basically, I guess that volume 1, so the first channel is boosting the second one. At the best results for me were found with high values of the volume 2 and then boosting this one a little bit. Not too much, otherwise it will become a little bit flabby on the bass. But yeah, you can dial more aggressive and distorted tones than a normal Plexi amplifier because, as I said before, these two channels would be in cascade instead of parallel. Lastly, the bottom right input is the same as the previous one, but with minus 6 dB of gain. I don't really find that useful, but if you need it, it's there. On the back of the amplifier, we have a master volume post-phase inverter that you can actually select and bypass with this switch. We have an FX loop also with a bypass switch and a +4 and -10 dB, so you can change the level of the FX loop. And then we have the INFINIUM, that basically it's a Bugera technology that monitors the health of the valve of the tubes. And if you have a tube that needs to be replaced, you will be notified by one of these LED that are telling you, man, you have to change the respective tube. So it's a really straightforward amplifier, really powerful, and just one thing that I have to say is if you have the master volume at 10 and then you bypass the master volume, it's not the same thing. So basically when you engage the master volume, the volume drops a bit. So just so you know, if you want the more raw power available, you have to completely bypass the master volume. And this is the 6262 that it's obviously inspired by the 5150 amp. You can see it by the look and the layout and also by the sound, I have to say. We have a clean channel with bright switch, and then we have a crunch mode on the clean channel. Actually, it's quite gainy as well. And then a lead channel with a separate EQ, volume and gain. And then we have separated reverb controls and separated presence controls for the clean and the lead channel. So let's start hearing the clean channel. As I said before, the crunch channel is as well really powerful. Let's hear it. But the best channel for me of this amplifier is the lead channel. It's really powerful, really chuggy. I really enjoyed playing through this mode of this amplifier. Finally, the reverb. I think this reverb is kind of a room reverb. It's really short and kind of unusable of a 6 or 7. It's not my favorite kind of reverb. It just adds a little bit of space or speciality if you need that. But for reverb, I always use my effects like my Strymon Flint, for example. That's for me, it's way better for the music that I play. On the back we have an FX loop and the preamp out here. We also have the foot switch socket, and the foot switch is a 4-switch foot switch, and you can turn on the clean, the crunch or the lead channel, and then also you can turn on the reverb if you need it. We have the INFINIUM technology as well here, and then of course the impedance selector with the loudspeaker output jacks. And finally, the 333XL. This amplifier is probably inspired by the PV-JSX Joe Satriani amplifier. It's a 3-channel amplifier, probably the amp that is more versatile among these 3 amps that I'm showing you today. It has 3 different channels with independent EQ and gain controls. The first channel, the clean one, is really pristine, clean, high headroom, and I think it's the most versatile clean channel of the 3 amps, and let's hear it. second channel, the crunch channel of this amplifier, it's actually really nice as well. It's fat, it maybe doesn't have the same bite of the 6262, but still is a really usable crunch channel. Also, you have the XL features for both the crunch and the lead channel separately, so you can activate this extra fatness boost that, if you need it, it's there. The lead channel of this amplifier is also really nice. It's really fat and smooth. Really nice one, I have to say. Let's hear it. This amp also features a noise gate that honestly I don't really feel there's the need of a noise gate, because I think this amp is quite quiet actually. Even at high gain levels didn't really start to buzz or anything, but if you're in a really loud situation, maybe that will become handy. Also, it doesn't feel like being in the way when you play it, so yeah, it's kind of nice, even if I don't really think there's the need to use it. Then we have a master section with master, presence and reverb control. In this case the reverb is a little bit longer, so it's more kind of a whole kind of a reverb. It's not my favorite. I of course prefer my external effects like my Strymon Flint, but actually my Strymon Flint costs quite as much as this amplifier. So if you're a person that doesn't have any effects, you just have the amp, having the reverb on board that is kind of usable, yeah, it could be a nice thing to have. On the back we have an FX loop with two knobs for adjusting the level of send and return, and this feature can also be used for solo boost, so you can actually don't use any effects and just use it as a solo boost for all of these three channels. Here you have the foot switch socket, so you can recall this function and also the clean crunch and lead channel. And then we have also here the INFINIUM technology LEDs, the impedance selector with the loudspeaker sockets, and then there's a line out with the level knob as well. So what do I think about these amplifiers? These amps are not expensive at all, and you can actually see the build construction, I mean the materials and everything. It's a little bit plasticky, also the knobs, and especially the input sockets are not my favorite for sure. So when I saw them, I thought that the sound would be cheap as well, but actually I was wrong, and I quite enjoy the sound of these amplifiers. If I had to choose one, I would probably go with the 6262 because it has that signature 5150 kind of vibe that I don't have in my arsenal of sounds because I have Marshall style amplifiers, and the 6262 has 6L6s and has that kind of tone that I don't have and I actually quite enjoy to play with. It's probably kind of a one tricky pony, but I think that it does that job quite well. I actually quite enjoyed to play also through the 333 XL. It has some features that for me are not that useful, but it's really versatile and probably it's the more balanced amplifier. It has a nice clean channel, nice crunch, nice lead tones. Maybe it doesn't have the same character of the 6262, but still I think that for the price, if you're a guy that you are into metal and that kind of stuff and you need a nice pristine clean tone and a nice crunch and maybe a nice lead tone with the chance to boost your solo, I think that for the price this amp is really nice. My least favorite of the trio was the 1960, the more Marshall kind of vibe amplifier, maybe because I already have my Marshall inspired amp, but I think that it's not super close to the Marshall tone. It's a little bit fizzy on top in a way that I don't really recognize. I don't feel myself that comfortable to play. It's not a bad amplifier. It's got a nice crunch tone, but it's not my favorite of the trio. But let me know in the comment section which one is your favorite one. Of course, I want to thank strumentimusicali.net to give me the chance to try and compare these three amplifiers at once. If you enjoyed this video, please put a like and consider subscribing to my channel. That helps a lot. And that's all for today, guys, and see you next time. Ciao!